You're launching this London Eats campaign then. What are your hopes and aspirations for how busy London can get then with people going out to eat?
Well, I'm doing my bit. I've had 2 breakfasts already indoors, and it's great to be back eating inside a restaurant. Look, this campaign we've got is the biggest domestic tourism campaign London's ever seen. And we're encouraging Londoners to come back to the West End, but also those from across the country to come to London. We think we've got the coolest restaurants, the hottest nightlife. We've got the world's best cultural attractions, hospitality venues, and they've had a really tough 14 months. So this will not only lead to all of us having a great time, but it'll protect jobs too.
So you want to encourage people to come back. Are you at all concerned, though, that this could be too soon? Of course, the weekend dominated by headlines around the so-called Indian variant. Are you concerned that this might all be a little too early?
Well, I think it is possible to act in a COVID-safe, COVID-sensible way, but also help our pubs, bars, restaurants, cultural attractions, hospitality venues. We've got the world's best food and drink. We've got the world's best theatre, live music, but it's also important to be cautious because this virus is still with us. The good news is almost 6 million Londoners have now received the vaccine. Almost 2 million received both doses. We are keeping an eye on this Indian variant. So a message to Londoners is make sure you test regularly. The lateral flow used twice a week at least. And if you're worried, have a PCR test. Every single PCR test where somebody tests positive, we're checking to see whether you've got the Indian variant.
Yeah, how much of the Indian variant is going around London at this point? How widespread is it in the capital?
So I spoke to my health advisor yesterday and today, and also to Public Health England and the NHS late last week. We think we've got about 400 positive cases in London. So we're thoroughly contact tracing those who have tested positive to see who they've been in contact with. About 100 have had a travel link to India. It's really important we aren't complacent. It's really important we're cautious. At the same time, we're encouraging people to enjoy the sights and sounds of our city safely.
Yeah, and things getting busier here, and it's really tempting to get very excited about all of that. But with most people under the age of 35 in this city unvaccinated, are you at all concerned that as those younger age groups come out to enjoy all that London has to offer, that we end up creating a worse situation with either the Indian variant or a spike up in other variants?
It's possible to be excited, enthusiastic and cautious. Look, since the peak in winter, we've had a reduction of cases around 98%. Hospital admissions down by 96%. The game changer is the vaccine, but also us finally getting a grip of test trace. It's really important all Londoners test regularly, but it's also really important we support London's economy. You know, 1 out of 5 jobs are in hospitality and culture. It is possible to have a great time, to protect jobs, and to make sure the virus doesn't spread.
Do you want to see more surge testing, more surge vaccinations perhaps taking place in parts of London? Where are those parts of London where we have more prevalence of the Indian variant?
So we're working with the government to encourage the government to increase the amount of vaccine rollouts in those parts of London where we're a bit concerned because of positive cases of the Indian variant. And that includes giving the vaccine to younger Londoners in some parts of London rather than others. So the message to all Londoners is test regularly. There are 5 boroughs where we've seen a bit of an increase in the Indian variant. They're Bromley, Croydon, Ealing, Hillingdon and Hackney. But all of us should be cautious, and all of us should also try and support London's economy.
And are you getting a sense that the central government is keen to do that? Because they seem to be hesitant to break away from the plan for distributing the vaccine as set out by the JCVI, the UK authority on that front.
Look, the NHS has done a brilliant job in rolling out the vaccine. The government should be commended in the fact they've managed to procure so many vaccines and so many different types. What I'm saying to the government is I can understand the advice you've received from the JCVI. It should be done by age. But my advice to the government is, based on the evidence we have, is it's good for us to be nimble. So if there are pockets of the country or pockets of London where we're seeing a higher number of people with the positive test with the Indian variant, in those pockets we should see an increased rollout of the vaccine, including younger Londoners who otherwise wouldn't get it yet.
Any sign the government is listening, though?
Well, I think we've seen in Bolton the NHS being flexible when it comes to the rollout. I'm hoping the government is flexible in London as well.
Are you considering incentives to encourage Londoners to vaccinate? I know you've been doing international research on incentives used elsewhere, but what would be appropriate in these communities that you're talking about where it's been difficult to get the vaccination levels higher?
Well, look, we've been speaking to friends in Israel who've told us about a gin for a jab, or a shot for a shot, or a pizza for a visor. We're not quite going down there yet. What we're trying to do is educate and explain to Londoners why the vaccine is a game changer. The early evidence we have, both in this country and in India, is that those who have the vaccine less likely to catch the Indian variant, and less likely to spread it, but also if you catch it, the consequences aren't as serious. So the key thing is to understand why this vaccine is a game changer, a lifesaver, and I'm encouraging all Londoners, when you offer the vaccine, take it, at the same time as trying to persuade the government to give it to more younger Londoners where we're concerned.
You've talked about the message you're giving to central government, Mayor Khan, but your relationship with the central government, with Number 10, has been at times a little testy. How would you assess that relationship? Are you getting what you need at this point?
Look, now we've got the election out of the way, and I've won a huge mandate. I'm hoping the government stops playing party politics with the safety of our city, but also the economy of our city. I'm keen to build bridges with the government. It's really important the government and myself work close together. We can't have a national recovery without a London recovery, but London needs the government working with us, the government needs London working with them, and it's really important we work close together.
And what are you doing to try and improve that relationship, just finally?
Well, I've reached out to the government. I'm hopeful we're going to see a better future than we've had in relation to past relationships, and it's really important we work close together.